to start this class lying on our backs. So do join me. And you could have your arms by your sides or your arms over your head, however feels most comfortable to you. And adjust your feet in relation to your bottom, so that you're able to really relax out through the back of your pelvis. And then allowing yourself to feel your contact with the floor. Taking some time to arrive this morning. Feeling through the soles of your feet. The back of your pelvis. Side waist. The back of your ribs and shoulders and arms and hands. And the back of your head on the floor. Noticing the body breathing itself. Not trying to do anything or go anywhere. There's nothing you need to know right now except the sensations of your body and the breath. Sometimes it can sound so simple when a yoga teacher or someone else says, all that you need to do is listen to your body. But sometimes it's the last thing we do. So observe your mind right now. Maybe it's thinking of the day to come, holidays to come, food to cook, people to care for. Observe the thoughts and then gather yourself gently around, or gather your attention rather gently around the breath and sensation. So you really commit to the floor here. Maybe making an intention for your practice. How would you like your practice to be? How would you like to take your practice off the mat into your day? And then sliding your right leg long. And becoming very acutely aware of your left footprint. As you allow your right leg just to flop out to the side, not holding any muscles there at all. And then begin to press your left foot into the floor, as if you're trying to push it through the floor, in fact. Just enough to begin to peel the left side of the pelvis and buttock off the floor, but not a lot. You might experience a gentle tilt over to the right. And then let go, really softly allow the buttock and the pelvis to settle. And take a few rounds. Very gentle, subtle pressing into the left foot and noticing sensation in the rest of the pelvis. In fact, the spine as well and the buttock. And breathe. So it's really not a push, it's not a force. You're not trying to get anywhere. Rather, you're trying to notice how the body responds millimeter by millimeter when you push your left foot into the floor. I'm just doing one more. And resting, sliding the left leg long. And then we bend up the right knee and place the right foot on the floor. Left leg completely floppy. And then begin the same thing on the right hand side. Feeling, committing to that footprint, pushing through the floor. And then noticing a very subtle lift on the right side of the body. And a sense of sloshing over to the left before you let go again. And breathe. Pouring all of your attention into this simple movement, as if your life depended on it. Breathe. I'm doing one more. Before you slide your right leg long. And just have a little rest here. And then standing both feet on the floor, knees bent. And just for a moment, walking from foot to foot now. So it's as if you're walking on your back. You press the left footprint down, and you press the right. Just notice what happens with the arrangement of your pelvis and spine as you walk on your back. quite revealing to me when I do this, the arrangement of how we walk upright as well. This rocking of the pelvis, this freedom in the pelvis is what we want. And a sense of the bones of the legs, in this case just the lower legs and the feet, supporting us. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to take a movement we did last week that will kind of accentuate that walking movement, but add a little bit more of a side bend into the pelvis. So I'd like you to move your left knee forwards, as if you're moving your left knee over your toes. You don't pick up the foot. As you bring your right knee towards you, it's a funny little kind of schism, a diagonal movement across the pelvis. And then you move your right knee forwards and your left knee towards you. And continue like this again without strain. So I feel really quite strong sensation on the side of the pelvis as I do this. The side where the knee's moving away. You might feel something different. It's almost like you're being stretched across the pelvis. And it's subtle. It's not a really strong force or anything like that. Just a little bit, just a few more. Finding your way around the organization of your pelvis, your spine, soles of your feet. Repetitive movement to soothe our nervous system, to release tension in the physical body, but also to map bodily movement with neural pathways to the brain. And this is what enables us to let go and to trust the full distribution of effort through the body and mind without restriction. Okay, and then softening here, just allow yourself to become still. Notice your breath. And now we move both knees away at the same time, both knees towards the toes, to roll off the tailbone, roll over the tailbone. And then both knees come back and your lower back will flatten against the mat. Your tailbone might almost lift. Very gentle pelvic tilting, but by moving the knees forwards and back. So you should just be peeling your lower spine off the mat without lifting your hips. Gentle pelvic tilting. And usually this movement is deliciously soothing to anyone who has lower back issues. And it's interesting to notice the distribution of movement through the body. So can you, for the last few rounds of this, become minutely aware of the soles of your feet, your knees, your rocking pelvis, and the spine all the way up to the ribs, the shoulders, and the head. Allow movement to be released through the whole body. And when you're ready, sliding both legs away, let arms by your side. And just feel the body here, the whole body. And then taking your arms vertical so that your fingertips are facing the ceiling, they're pointing towards the ceiling, your palms are facing each other. Lovely. I just want you to settle down into the shoulders. If that means lifting as if you're trying to reach something on the ceiling and then dropping the arm bones back into the shoulders first, that's fine. But what I really want is a sense of connection between the shoulders and the floor and a stillness in the arms. And from there, bring your knees into your chest. So your feet are now off the floor. Now the positioning of the shoulders is important because we're going to use it to give us information about how we rotate our spine. I'm going to very gradually begin to drop your knees to the left. But the moment your right shoulder begins to agitate or come away from the floor, you stop. Just to notice how far you've gone. Should be no engagement in the shoulders, should be completely relaxed. And then you gradually move back to the middle. And allow your knees over to the right. And again, the moment the left shoulder begins to speak to you, begins to move away or tense up, that's as far as you go with the knees. And you come back. So we go from side to side. We're not trying to touch the floor. We're trying to keep absolute stillness and stability in the upper body as we very gently rotate the spine with the movement of the knees. Breathe. And it's so tempting, I find myself, it's so tempting to go further and to try and deny the fact one shoulder's peeling off the floor. So don't cheat like I am. You'll have a chance to drop both knees at some point. And you can try experimenting with what you need to organize in the body in order to come a bit further with the knees, with the shoulders still. So you could move your knees further down the mat, for example, or maybe further up the mat. Just have a little play and see what you need to do. Let your body give you information and respond to that. And don't stop breathing. And observe if you're striving or trying for something, or rather if you're simply curious and open to what's arising as it is right now. When you're ready, allow your arms to open out in a T shape on the floor. And now you can allow both knees to roll over. It's like a little treat. And take your head in the opposite direction. And there should be no muscular engagement at all now. Just a complete softening through the shoulder, through the inner thighs and hips. Take a few breaths. Check in with the softness of the roof of your mouth and the back of your throat. And then please change the side of your twist when you're ready. Bring yourself over. No hurry at all. Letting everything soften, letting everything go. And at some point when you're ready, bringing yourself to join me kneeling, sitting on your heels. And we're going to come into a child's pose, but in stages. If because of your knees you can't come into child, you could lie flat on your belly or on your side. So just going to allow yourself to slump a little bit in this seated pose, in this Virasana. So you're not even trying to have a straight spine here. You're letting the sideways go. You're letting the spine curl. And then from here, we're going to gradually release forwards over our thighs. And your knees can be apart if you need your knees to be apart to allow space for your upper body to come down. And you're not forcing anything. You're soft in the groin as you gently, gently fold over your legs, forehead to the floor or to your hands. And we arrange ourselves for stillness and for quiet here. And breathe a while here. Breathe into your own inner stillness, your own inner quiet. I was listening to a podcast last night sent to me by my sister actually about silence activism. Some of you might know about that already, but the fact that it's harder and harder to find places to just be in silence or to be with the sounds of the natural world. Without too much interruption. And partly it's because we don't look for it. When I leave you, or when I leave us for a while doing nothing like this, just notice what happens to you. And it's quite possible that there's some battle, not necessarily easy. Okay, I'm definitely going to do more of that tonight in the yin restorative class, but you might leave me now if I carried on. So if you'd like to come to an all fours position. And even though I'll be talking us through the class, can you hold some silence and space inside of you, like a little sanctuary, and connect your hands to the floor, feeling the support down through the arms, the shoulders, feel the tops of your feet. And then drop between the shoulder blades, just drop. Your head might lift, but it might not. It doesn't matter too much. And then lift up between the shoulder blades, a little bit of a push here. Maybe your chin comes into your chest, tailbone draws down. And continue this movement between the shoulder blades. We often initiate it from the tailbone. But it's almost as if you're an industrial or hyper-industrial sized sewing machine. And the needle is going down and up from the space in between the shoulder blades. Tika-taka. And as you take a few more rounds, I want you to notice how the whole of your spine is articulated, but initiated from the space in between the shoulders. And breathe. It should feel quite nice around the ribs, the shoulder blades. And isn't it funny how there is, for me at least, like an impulse to go fast? Just notice for yourself, do you feel like you're trying to get somewhere? Can you become completely absorbed in the slowness of very simple movements? And then come to a neutral spine. Curl your toes under and rest back onto your heels with your bottom. So I'm hoping that you all have bare feet. And before we do anything, can we just feel the support through the wrists, through the arms, but without any pressure? Really relax in the neck and the head. And I'm going to do something with you that I did it with Pete Blackaby yesterday in the class. And this is just to observe what happens. I'm not going to tell you anything other than to just gently, almost 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters, peel your knees off the floor and just hold them there a second or two before dropping them back. And just do that a few more times and observe how the weight is distributed around the body. We go from stillness, softness, waiting, to some muscular effort. But where is the muscular effort happening? Probably you'll feel that your upper body, your shoulders and arms, are working quite hard, but also so are your legs. So you're supporting yourself suddenly through the arms and the legs, and then gradually begin to take your heels towards the floor. And as you do this, there should be less weight on the arms as your legs take the slack. And then bend your knees and come back down again. Please take a few rounds of coming into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward dog. Observing what happens to the arms as support as you take the weight of your body through the legs. And it doesn't matter if you straighten your legs or not. Every time you come down, find stillness before arranging yourself to come into the next downward dog. Don't just rush between them. And then come and rest in child's pose again. Find that child where you slump in the lower back and the sideways, and you rest yourself down into stillness again. Notice your breath. Notice your jaw, upper and lower, your throat, your forehead. And we're going to come to a movement with the same principle as the last one. But this time you're going to place your forearms on the floor. And your palms can be up or down. We're not pressing, we're just supporting through the forearms. You probably don't want your elbows too far apart. You kind of want them to be aligned underneath your shoulders. And then again, like you did before, curl your toes under and sit back towards your heels and find stillness here. And sometimes we anticipate what's coming next. And in so doing, we fire up our muscles before we need to. So we're looking to be really efficient with the effort here. At some point when you're ready, begin to lift your knees slowly off the floor, then your heels begin to come to the floor. You lift your bottom and you'll feel the support through the upper body, maybe a bit more than when you were in downward dog. Just notice and then drop your knees again. Come back to sit on your heels, quieten the system before you unfurl again. Take a few rounds. And the point is we're not pushing into our arms here, we're supporting the body. Lovely, Jane. Jane, you're the only one brave enough to have your camera on today. Notice what happens with sensation and the level of energy as you lift and support yourself through the upper body. I'm just taking a couple more rounds. The minute anything feels like too much effort, it's going to strain your physical and nervous system. And so you back off. Resting now in child again. There's absolutely nothing to be gained in yoga by pushing ourselves into anything, whatever anybody says. It's not a sport. We're not trying to build our muscular strength only. but we're trying to build efficiency through the whole system. Fluidity and ease. And of course, I appreciate that there are lots and lots of different styles of yoga and ways of teaching it. But I definitely, for one, think I spent a lot of time, at least part of me, feeling it was an athletic enterprise, that I needed stronger muscles, I needed to be more flexible. And although both of those things can be byproducts, they're not really what we're aiming for. It's not why we're doing this. Okay, last variation on this theme. So if you'd like to come up onto your forearms, your toes are curled under again, you sit back towards your heels. But now you interlace your hands behind the head. In fact, you might want to roll a little bit over the head just to get used to this. Gentle rolling. You could even bring your hands away. Actually, you know what we'll do? Excuse me. Just bring your hands so that they're kind of level with your knees, and your head is like the tip of a triangle, far away from your hands. And from here, we'll roll from the forehead over onto the top of the head. So you feel the weight now through the head, and you roll back again. Anyone who has any strain in the neck, please stay with the version we did before, just on the forearms. This is not about coming into headstand. At some point when you come towards the top of your head, you could lift your knees, take your heels towards the floor. And then this version, we roll onto the tips of our toes. And then come back down again. Rolling back, find stillness. And then do that a few times. So the principle with the lower body is exactly what it's been in every single pose so far. It's just we're changing where we support the body. And we notice what that feels like. But we don't stay too long. Take a few rounds. If you feel any strain at all or pain in the neck, please don't continue what we're doing now. And do the version with the head off the floor, with your forearms taking the support. Just a couple more rounds if you'd like to. Before again resting in child, take your time, no hurry. Coming into that inner sanctuary, quiet and still. Releasing the lower jaw from the upper jaw. Observing the breath. And then if you'd like to come up again and bring your right foot forwards and sit back on your left heel. So your left toes are curled under. So it's like a sprinter's position. My right heel is about level with my left knee. And take your hands to the floor or to your fingertips. And the first thing we do again is find stillness and allow the right leg to support the right side of the body. Notice the distribution of weight through the body here. And we slowly notice the right footprint. This is going to support you, the right shin. You lift the left knee off the floor and begin to take the left heel towards the floor as your torso bends over the right leg. And then you come back down again. And that's all you're going to do to begin with here. So again, it's not about hurrying. You come back and find stillness in your sprinter before you commit into that right footprint. Lift the left knee, take the left foot towards the floor. Notice the sequence of movement through the body, different joints. At some point, you can drop the left heel, bring the right hand inside the foot and twist open. It's a little bit of a balance to do this. You're twisting to open to the left. And then you come down slowly, a hand around each foot, lift the left heel, drop the knee, sit back down again. So let's play around with that movement, that articulation of sequence. We're looking for ease and fluidity. And if that isn't present, observe when the restriction, when the agitation comes in. We often don't notice whether it's on or off the mat when we are becoming agitated, when we're becoming resistant. So all we're doing here is refining our awareness of how we act in the world, who we are. Maybe doing one or two more on this side before changing sides. When you do change sides, take time to find stillness and support the body over the left thigh, first of all. So you start from simplicity. And then when you're ready, begin to commit the left footprint as you lift the right knee and take the heel to the floor. So we don't come into that twisting version straight away. Come in and out of sprint. This is exactly the same class that was taught last Friday, for those of you who weren't here or those of you who were here. When you feel an ease of movement in the opening out of your sprinter, bring the right heel down, take the left hand inside the foot and peel open to the right. And come back down the way you came. I'm doing one or two more. And when you've finished your one or two more, come and rest in child again. And observe how you're feeling. Observe how you're breathing. And then coming back up and taking your right foot forwards, but much further forwards this time. So it's like right angles in the knee. And you might feel a bit more pressure through the left knee here, so do support the knee with something if you need to. And can you find stability here in the lower body, particularly through that right footprint, that right leg? So you might want to watch me first. We're going to combine a twist with a side bend. You take your arms out wide, then you twist to the left, so to the inside of the right leg. So that's the twist, that's the rotation. And then you come into a side bend. Then you come back exactly the way you came, differentiating between the movements. There's no hurry. So joining in when you want to. Noticing how the body responds. Is there a balance issue? How is the weight? How is the effort distributed? I know last week at least one person said that this was really hard, that it was really wobbly. It was really quite a lot of effort. It's not necessarily an easy movement. How can you make it more easy for yourself? Maybe by doing less. So there are two more variations here. I'll show you them, and then you decide which ones you're going to try, maybe all of them, maybe not. So the first one starts the same, we rotate the same, but we bring the hand outside the foot, slightly different, rather than inside. And the other one is entirely different because we twist the other way. We twist over to the right, bring the left hand down, right hand lift. So it's not a side bend this time, it's just a little twist. And those are the variations. If you wanted to really add a bit of fire, and I wouldn't recommend that particularly, you could do all of this with the back knee lifted. I'm definitely not doing that. A lot of this is about stability. Allowing your bones to support you with an efficient distribution of effort by the muscles around the whole body. Finding ease. You could take a few more on that side, or you might like to change sides now. When you're ready, change sides. So you know what the 3 movements are. Just have a little play around. Remember to differentiate the twist before the side bend. I'm just doing a couple more, whichever variety you want to do. Before you come and rest in stillness and quietness. Noticing what arises for you right now and allowing yourself to settle completely. Where might you be able to soften and let go a little bit more? And then please slide onto your belly with your head on your hands. Can you curl your toes under? Let's try it this way. You need to curl your toes under and then lift your knees off the floor if you can. Won't be a big lift. And then drop the knees, uncurl the toes. We're going to do that just a few times. Curl the toes, lift the knees. Notice what happens at the front of the pelvis. Drop the knees, release the toes.
And the reason we're picking apart this pose is because you might want to look at me now. Sometimes when people lift their legs in a back bend on the front, a prone back bend, what they do is this, they bend up the forelegs. And that's not really what we're looking for. And they do that because it's really hard for some people to lift the knees off the floor, to lift the feet. It's using a lot of energy in the front of the pelvis. Those muscles, hip flexors, are lifting you, as well as the buttocks. So it doesn't matter if your knees don't lift, but what I don't want is you to bend at the knees. I want you to try and lift the knees before you lift the toes now. So engage the muscles of the thighs, lift the knees if they'll come, and then lift the feet. And then come back the way you came. So we're activating the muscles of the lower back, the buttocks. But most importantly for our purposes now, we're allowing this movement to happen from the front of the hips, the front of the pelvis. We're flexing those muscles. Take a few rounds here. But never so many that you strain the lower back. Just taking a couple more rounds before you rest in softness. Lovely. Then we're going to bring our attention to our spine now. I want you to be aware that your spine has different sections. You have the lower spine, which is the lumbar spine. And then around the area of the ribs, you have the thoracic spine. And then the neck is the cervical spine, or the cervical spine. If you were just going to move the cervical spine now, you just lift your head up. You could try that a few times. So you're just lifting your head up and dropping it. But you could activate the thoracic by imagining that your neck starts in between the shoulder blades. So you lift your head from there. Don't be in a hurry to look up the wall, but be aware that you're lifting from in between your shoulder blades. And take a few rounds like this, differentiating the movement of the area of the spine. And then some of you might like to imagine that your neck starts all the way down in the pelvis, so that you start to lift your head from there. And all I'm interested in really is if you notice a difference in the quality of the lift. Doesn't matter if you take your head back or not. It's very easy to move the neck. It's less easy to move the other parts of the spine, especially the thoracic. And then have a little rest, and we'll bring the lower and the upper together. Take your arms by your sides, palms facing down as you settle into your nose and forehead here. And remember what I said about lifting the knees before the feet. And remember what I said about the neck beginning further down the spine than you think. And then when you're ready, explore bringing together these two movements and lifting everything off the mat. Full flight before you settle down again, and have a little play with that. And only you know yourself if all this meticulous attention affects your experience of the pose. And you might come up and you might want to stay up and really fire up the back of your body, spread your fingers and your toes, or you might want to keep moving. So I'll leave you for just a few more moments to practice your prone back bends, your shalabhasana, your locust pose. And when you're ready to rest, you could take a few breaths lying flat on your belly, head on your hands, before bringing yourself back to rest in child again. So if you're not there already, coming to rest in child, please. We're going to take a pigeon pose now. So if you have any struggle in your knees, you can take pigeon on the back, which means, just in case you don't know this, bringing the right ankle over the knee to begin with, bringing your legs in towards you, right hand through the gap to hold onto the left hand to draw the legs in. That is pigeon on the back. If you're going to join me, pigeon on the front, slide your right knee forwards and check that your left leg is straight behind you. And you're going to arrange the right leg in a way that suits you. So some of you will have the knee right in between the hands, and some of you will take the knee further over to the right, maybe drawing the shin a little bit up the mat, but no pain in the knee to be tolerated. And then we come down on our forearms to settle in the hips initially. Finding that stillness that we've been finding throughout the practice, but now in Kapotasana or Ardha Kapotasana, half pigeon pose. Really drop in fully into the hips here, left and right. And soften the back of the neck and the back of the ribs. Beautiful. From here, straightening your arms up, bringing your hands about level with your front knee, if that is possible for you. And you're looking down, and I'd like to bring those same principles of bending parts, extending the spine that we did on our belly. So it'd be really easy just to lift your head up and down, and that won't really do very much. But if you imagine your neck in between the shoulders or beginning even lower down, then bring yourself into gentle extension. Use your eyes and release. So that's all we're going to do to begin with. Just move very gently in and out. It's like a ripple or a wave of extension of the spine, bringing a little back bend into our pigeon. notice the movement of the spine.
Notice how this corresponds with sensations in the hips. And we can add a twist here only if you want to. So when your eyes are kind of level with the horizon, begin to look over your right shoulder. And your left shoulder and ribs can come with you. We're not static here. Bring the whole body into that twist. And then unwind. So come into that twist if you'd like to for a few rounds. Very slow, very mindful of how you arrange yourself. You organize the skeleton, the tissues around the bones. And when you've taken a few twists, come and sleep in your pigeon. Come down. So I'm very sorry for anyone who's doing pigeon on the back. You can't do all those variations, but you'll still have the lovely opening in the hips, which will eventually allow you to come and it'll help the knees. Quite often any sensation in the knees is actually to do with what's going on in the hips. So that's what we work on first. In your own time, bringing all of that to the other side. So we come to pigeon on the left. If you want to come into a little downward dog in between, that might be really nice just to open it all out. Left knee comes forwards, right leg behind. And if you remember, we settle first of all before we come into the back bending and the twisting. Just marinate in the hips here. Come into that stillness. And then when you're ready, drawing your hands in, straightening your arms. And coming into that sense of a very long neck in order to gradually come into little back bends. And releasing. And we're not looking for the maximum sensation possible. We're looking for an ease in movement, an ease in the organization of our bones and tissues. And all of that will be very soothing for the nervous system, which for many of us is why we're here. We can't separate it from what's going on in our bodies. At some point, if you would like to, bringing that gentle twist and eyes to the horizon, begin to look over your left shoulder, bring the right shoulder and ribs with you before you come out again. And when you've taken
A few little twisting pigeons. Come down to sleep in your pigeon. And then we come out, take a gentle downward dog, if you would like to. And breathe. And can we meet knees on the floor, hands a little bit further in front than usual. So we've actually come into back bending, first of all on our bellies, then in pigeon. And we're now going to move into an Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, an upward facing dog, but in a way that should be quite easily distributed. So the arms are supporting you as you allow the pelvis to drop. Keep looking down. Feel the support through the arms and shoulders. And then you come back again. That's all we do to begin with. So we still have that stillness in the upper body, just supporting. Please don't tolerate over compression in the lower back. If there's any pain, don't come down too far. And if all of this feels good, next time you come down with the pelvis, imagine that long neck and begin to look up. But you're not bringing your shoulders up by your ears. Your support is through the arms. And then you come back again. And just take a few rounds. Full extension of the spine. So we're not slumping our hips to the floor. Our hips are off the floor. Shoulders are not by, if you hit your shoulders by your ears, the hips come down. And what I really like to do is to combine the downward dog with the upward dog. So we come back in the way we started our practice, sitting on the heels, lift to a downward dog. Come back down with the knees, slide the hands forwards, allow the pelvis to come forwards and drop into your upward dog. Lift your head if that works for you. And you bring yourself into smooth, synchronizing these movements between the downward and the upward dog. So we're flexing and we're extending the spine. Maximum ease, no strain. Until you're ready to rest again in child. You've heard that before today. But feel free to do a couple more rounds if you want to. And then we'll do a little movement that won't be available for everybody. Let's see how we go. So I'd like you to curl your toes under again. You could bring your hands closer in towards your knees. So this time as you lift your knees and your heels come to the floor, You're going to take your knees out to the sides. You're opening your knees out and curling the spine. We're not trying to have a straight spine. We're just curling out the whole of the back. And then look up, bring your knees together and down again. You're coming all the way back towards your heels and just rolling your upper body forwards between the legs. And moving in and out. And don't feel your heels have got to touch the floor. I'm much more interested in your knees coming apart and your spine curling forwards. Should feel quite soothing. Let's just do a few more. You're right there, Jane. Can't hear what you're saying, but you can put your thumbs up or down. Okay. And then we're going to come to a sitting position with one leg extended, and do feel free to sit on a blanket. You feel free to bend up the knee of the extended leg if you need to. And look forwards in between the legs. And all we're going to do is drop the right shoulder, the right elbow down inside, and the left shoulder stays, the left arm stays, and then you come up again. So we're not trying to touch the floor with the elbow. We're just side bending the spine. And all the while dropping through the hips. If you find that this side bending is available to you and you feel quite at ease in this movement, you could bring the arm into the equation, bring the left arm over. We're not trying to touch our toes, we're trying to articulate the spine in a side bend. And take a few rounds feeling into that left side body. Beautiful, until you're ready to come to the other side. Just change legs when you're ready. And we don't use the right arm initially, we just drop the left elbow towards the floor, the shoulder, to come into that sense of bending to the left. Only involving the right arm when you feel you want to. Breathing into the ease of the movement. Lovely. And we'll come out of that and come to lying on our backs, knees bent, feet standing on the floor. For 3 final movements, postures before we come to rest. Doesn't that feel lovely to lie on our backs again? You can take your arms over your head if that feels good, settling out the back of the shoulders, the wrists. And then all I'd like you to do is make 2 firm footprints, move both of your knees forwards, and this time lift your lower back off the mat, just a little. So you can feel the weight of your pelvis here hanging. So a few of the lower spine will have come off the floor, the buttocks. Just take a moment to feel this before coming down again. And all I'd like you to do really is investigate for yourselves if that is enough, that gentle lift, or if maybe with time you want to peel a few more vertebrae off the mat and you lift higher into a Sedu Bandha Shavasana, more of a bridge pose. But we're looking for ease. We're not looking for the biggest back bend possible. So have a little play around with your version. Maybe doing just 1 or 2 more. Before you settle. And then can you grab hold of your big toes? And we're going to roll. And this might be available to some of you and maybe a bit frustrating for others for you. Just see how you get on. We're going to try and roll all the way up and roll all the way back. And you don't even have to hold on to your toes. You could let go and roll over the spine. Maybe your feet come over your head. Just imagine like a little baby rocking over the spine. And if this is frustrating for you because you find that you're blocked, you can't move, it's a really great thing to repeat because it actually changes with time quite quickly. And it's a great way as we grow older to keep this lovely flexibility in the spine. Lovely. Okay, and then grabbing hold of your big toes as you lie on your back. Come into a funny little twist where you're going to lead with the right heel as you come over to the left. You roll over to the left and your right heel comes beyond the left knee. And the idea here is that it's smooth to roll over onto your back and to the right, taking your left heel over the right knee, all the way over to the right. And you just roll from side to side. This is the last movement we're doing. If there's a blockage, notice where it is for you. I definitely find it really difficult to roll up from the right-hand side for whatever reason. Rolling right over on your head. A little play. few rounds until you're ready to maybe put on another layer. Find yourself warm enough to rest for 5 minutes in Shavasana. We're back in our own quietness, stillness, releasing the whole body towards the floor. Keep letting go. Keep dropping. And of course, staying for as long as you like. When you're ready to come out of your Shavasana, beginning to breathe a little bit deeper. Maybe introduce some gentle movement into the body, into your joints, giving a little stretch. Maybe rolling over onto one side, resting. Before you come and meet me sitting with your hands together in front of your heart space, eyes closed if you like. And as we have done all the way through the practice, coming to settle in this final seat so that you have the space and the silence within which to observe how you're feeling. And from there to feel the day around you. And taking a full breath in towards your heart as you breathe out, bowing your head, chin to your chest. And allowing your next breath in to lift your head, to open your eyes. Namaste. Thank you very, very much for joining me.